There were loads of different customs years ago around death. I suppose, did you do things like turn a mirror around when someone had died?
All the mirrors in the house would be covered with a white cloth. Like there would be no mirror left uncovered, and the clocks would be all stopped. The curtains would be drawn on the windows. There would be no curtains left on all curtains all through the house would be drawn. And when a person had passed away in the house, a window would be opened to let the spirit go free. That was the traditions in years ago, yeah, that would have happened, you know. Yeah.
And people wore black for the year, didn't they?
People wore, the women of the family wore black, and the men wore black ties and a black diamond sewed onto their coat, onto the sleeve of their coat, and they wore that for a full year. And there'd be no radios or televisions. There weren't too many at the time anyway, but there wouldn't be any radios or televisions turned on in any house in the locality while the wake and funeral would be going on. But in the house itself, like, they'd give it maybe a month of mourning before they'd put on any music or entertainment. And they would go to no social occasion. If it was a parent or a brother or a sister, they wouldn't go to any dances or anything for a full year after a person passed away. Yeah, there would be a whole year before they'd go anywhere.
And you were saying as well, years ago, you'd be dropped off to a dance, but...
Yeah, I remember like my mother saying that my father would drop her, they were going out together, he would drop her to the dance, but wouldn't go in. And then he'd be there to pick her up to bring her home. But he wouldn't go in and dance because of his mother had passed away. Yeah. So
and he couldn't go to the dance for the full year?
No, not for a full year after death. And when there'd be, like, there was such a thing as a high mass, and that'd be all an amount of priests in the church all chanting there for the high mass. That's done away with completely now. There's no such thing. But I remember that too. I just vaguely remember that.
Did you ever hear the thing, high money, high mass?
I didn't like to say it, but that's exactly what I was thinking.
No money, no mass.
No, yes, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
that was bad too. Now,
that was. Which everyone was as near to God as the other. Exactly. You know, like it was. Yeah. Oh no, I often heard that. All right. Yeah. And I think there was one particular day, if a person's funeral fell on that day, I think it may have been a Sunday, that the high mass then would be on a Monday. I think the priest didn't do, I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think the priest didn't do the high mass. I suppose they all had their own parishes to look after. They didn't do the high mass on the Sunday. If a person was being buried on the Sunday, the mass would be on the Monday. Yeah.
And the church here would be in Killanne, wouldn't
it?
Rathnure.
Yeah, we're St. Anne's Church, Rathnure, yeah.
And then the Protestant church here would be in Killanne.
Yeah.
What was the case of them German pilots? Were they buried in...
They were buried in the top part of it was unconsecrated ground at the time in Rathnure. The Rathnure cemetery was in 4 divides. And there was one part of it not consecrated at the particular time. And the Germans were buried there, but they were taken up and brought back to Germany after.
They were brought back to Wicklow.
Or to Wicklow, wherever they were brought, but they weren't left in Rathnure.
Grand.
They were brought away, yeah.
So they were buried in Rathnure.
My husband actually do a grave for another person on the site of the Germans' graves, where the Germans were buried. He's actually buried do a grave there afterwards, yeah.
So it became consecrated ground, and after that...
Oh yeah, it was consecrated afterwards, yeah. And then there was a new part opened there in the last few years, yeah. Yeah.
You were saying as well with your husband there, if there was if someone had passed away, he'd never drive by the house with tractor.
No, like in the locality here, if there was anybody, if any of the neighbours or anybody around or died, there'd be no work done on the land. Absolutely. Now even Sean to this, like, he wouldn't drive by the church with the tractor if there was a funeral going on inside or in the graveyard. He'd go maybe 2 miles out of his way to miss the church. If he wasn't at the funeral, if he was going down, he wouldn't drive by a house or by the church if there was a funeral going on.
And did you ever come across years ago where the shutters of the local pub or the post office would be put in a certain way when you
the shops would close at the time of a funeral. They'd close the doors at the time of a funeral. They wouldn't be open for business while the remains be taken out of the church and that.
I've come across in Bunclody and further over on the east part of Wexford, that in Ballygart where I grew up, that you'd know when someone had died because the shutters would be put a certain way in a window.
Oh, Yes.
And I came across that
Oh, I
Clody
didn't.
as well.
Yeah. No, we've seen the black ribbon on the door, all right. Any businesses where there be somebody I belong to the business like to put the black ribbon on. I've seen that, all right, but I have never seen the shutters.
And all the wakes were done at home back.
Yeah, they were nearly all waked at home. Yeah, they were. Yeah. Plenty of tea and bread, nothing forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tell me as well, did you ever come across that you were saying before about the suit of clothes? If someone had a suit of clothes on them on Sunday.
Yeah. It was fun. It was supposed it was. People say, "Oh, such a person died. Look what he has." And you, like a person close to the person that died, or maybe helped out during the time of the funeral. They would get the people's clothes because them days were waked in a habit. They weren't sent away in their own good clothes, and then the good clothes be handed on to a friend or a neighbour or someone that might have been helping out at the time of the funeral or whatever.
Someone close to them.
Yeah, someone close to them. Yeah, and that always were. It was a bit of a cant if somebody got a new suit clothes. I'd say, "Oh, sure, who died lately?" That was a kind of a cant of a thing, whether it be true or not. Yeah.
Because remember we were talking earlier on that it was a kind of a tradition around here. Maybe it was before your time where someone would wear the suit of clothes belong to the dead person.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that now. It may have been before my time, or maybe in different areas around here. But I didn't. I never heard of that one. All right, but I did hear about getting the clothes from the person who was passed on. Yeah.
And I suppose you grew up with loads of things too, where you'd heard about people saying if a robin came in, it was a sign of a death.
Yes. Or if a picture fell off the wall, it was supposed to be the sign of a death. Yeah, it was supposed to be not about the string breaking, but that was supposed to be the the sign of a death. Yeah.
Here in the bow as well was the other one.
Well, it was called the banshee around here. Yeah, it was supposed to be the banshee. It was supposed to be, or some people, like my mother believes it. I like to try and, I don't know, where a light, you see a light at the bottom of the window. If there was somebody passed away, a light is shining in the bottom of the window. Like, I haven't heard talk about that, but I don't know.
Because when someone would die, it'd come to the window.
Yeah, come to the window. Yeah.
You were saying as well to me that you'd light the candle on All Souls Night still.
Yes, and a tradition at the wakes that time was, like, I did it myself. I did help out a few wakes when I was better able. The little bush of the candle, that would be when the candle burned down. The candles beside the bedside, like when they burned down to a certain stage, you take them out and put in fresh ones, and them candles then were given to the people who was working in the house, and they'd bring them home and they'd burn them on All Souls Night for the soul of the person that had died during the year. The candles used to be put along the bed of the dresser here, like in a little whatever, maybe sometimes a potato or whatever. But I remember one time the Mammy used to always light the candles and say the rosary and the litany of the saints would be said. And then this particular night she lit the candles. She put them out, went up to the sitting room to sit down, and we lit them and we burnt the dresser.
You burnt a hole in the dresser?
Burnt a hole in the dresser. Yeah, the candle was in a plastic dish, and then when it burnt down, the dish went afire and it burnt a little hole in the dresser. So that kind of ended the candles being lit here for the souls. We're lit in the church after that.
And as well, you'd have to go do the stations, or you'd have to do the...
You'd have to go, the visits to the church. On an All Souls, you went over, like, we had to walk 3 miles to Mass and back, and then after the dinner we went over to do what was called the visits. You went in and you said, "Our Father, Hail Mary, and the glory be to the Father for a particular soul." And then you left the church outside, just went around, turned around and went back in and did the same thing for another person that you were wanting to pray for. And that went on. And the same in the church, in the graveyard. You went and you prayed in the graveyard for whoever. It was to get an indulgence for the soul.
And would you come out every time?
Every time you say the Our Father, the Hail Mary, and the Lord. Well, you don't need to go inside the graveyard gate, like you wouldn't be going to visit a particular grave. You just go inside the graveyard gate, say the prayer, and come back out, and then go back in again for the next soul that you wanted to pray for.
So you'd be doing? Would you be doing it for 3, 4, 5, 6? How many people would you?
Yeah, sure. Whoever, like close friends, relatives beside you, 5 or 6 people, maybe. Whoever you'd like to pray for. That was the way it was done.
And the last thing you were telling me as well last week, you were saying about when the candle, the wax would be black in it.
Yeah, now Johnny was saying that, like the other man was with me, was saying that his mother used to say that the black little things, the parts of the week, he used to say that was the souls. But there was great belief that the souls were free from purgatory for the duration of the All Saints and All Souls. And like there was great respect for that time of the year, like when that was going on. It was great respect for the dead and all that type of thing.
Because we believed that the dead were walking among us.
Yes, yeah, they believed the dead was. And Mammy had a prayer here, and just as a child, I used to get upset about it because it said, "What's it says? Happy and me, at least you, my friend, for the hand of the Lord has touched me." You're supposed to say a prayer for the soul that they are supposed to be saying this to you, to have pity on him because the hand of the Lord has touched him, so that they wouldn't have to go back to purgatory to go to heaven. That was the belief them days. Yeah.
That time of year, you'd remember the people.
Oh yes, yeah. Oh yeah. That's what they do.
And do you still do it?
Yeah, I'd always. Yeah, well, I prayed for the whole souls the whole year round. Maybe I'm silly, but that's the way I do it anyway. Yeah. But that's the wakes and all that are all around. Like, yeah, my master, he used to be called do a lot of wakes around. She had all this outfit like the waking sheets and all the whole thing. She was always on call when she was young, like not the latter years.
She travelled around half the country.
Well, around the neighbourhood and that kind of thing. Yeah, she was. Yeah, she used to do that type of thing when she was young and able.
And should the lads would like to mag it as well then at the wakes as well, the young lads would.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear any of those stories?
No, not so. Like I've heard of a few, all right. Not so many. Not so many about things like that. No.
They were all good around this part of the country, were they?
Well, maybe I missed out on them ones. I suppose that's the way it was. Yeah, no, I didn't hear anything about things like that, but you do, like, I suppose there would be hair raising stories.
Did you do any gate lifting at Halloween?
No, but I experienced it, like, we go out to Mass here on bicycles in the dark winter's morning, the gates would be tight and you wouldn't get out. Yeah. Oh, we used to dress up as kids, like, we used to dress up and even we used to go with our own children when they scoop up the turnips all day here, they'd be scooping up turnips and putting candles in them. And I remember one Halloween I got wise after the first one. One Halloween, I went off with my own kids and the lads up along the lane, and they all had those turnips scooped out and twine for a handle and a candle lighting in them. And then baby, everyone knows me as baby, will you carry my candle, and will you carry my and in the end I had candles of every hand and turnips, and I didn't have the brains to leave them down, leave them to come back. I was just dead. But we used to have great fun over it. We'd go up around the village, and there was people up there that were great for Halloween, like,
You'd put on your vizard, would you?
Oh yes, yeah.
Did you call him a vizard?
Pardon?
Did you call it a vizard?
Mask. Well, we used to call him mask, but like way back in the time when there used to be doing the black men for the weddings. That time it was a white pillow slip. I remember Mommy, Daddy, Lord of mercy, I'm doing it. Burning a white pillow slip and pulling it down over his face to make a mask, because there was no such thing them days as a mask.
They were the black men for the weddings?
Black men for the weddings, yeah. There were black men here for our wedding. After we came home after honeymoon, there was black men here. I only recognised one, but the thrill was to get in and be there for the night and get out without being recognised as to who you were. Yeah, that was the fun part of it.
And the old pillow slip burned up.
The pillow slip with the whole burns in it. Yeah.
When was the last time you saw a black man?
Our wedding 41 years ago. That was the last time I saw him.
Around here.
I don't think, but like the youngsters here were saying that should come back, but yeah. So like, not it'd be great fun that even you come home. You were trying to get home in known to them, like, but it didn't happen. They were always able to find out when you were coming home. That's what had go on. Yeah. And I remember, like, I don't remember it in this house, but I remember Mammy said about of an Easter Sunday morning. There was a stick burned in the fire, and put down water to cool it, and the black end of the stick, there'd be a cross put on everyone's arm. What symbolised, I don't know, but she said it was something to do with the death of our Lord. But like the man of the house would go around and with the burnt stick put a cross on everybody's arm in the house Easter Sunday morning before they'd have their breakfast.
Your mother told that was done to her?
I mean, yeah, my mother, like my mother's home place, like only over the road there. My grandfather always did that of an Easter Sunday morning.
Do you ever put a cross on the eggs when the hen be setting?
But the holy water was always put on them here. Absolutely, yeah. Holy water went on everything here, even the potatoes going to the field to be sowed in the boxes. The holy water was sprinkled on everything going out of the place. Yeah. That was always great. It was a great thing here.
You'd be able to know if you had gluggers. Did you call them a glugger? With the chickens wouldn't come in the egg.
Ah, no, I never had that one. No.
But you'd sprinkle holy water on the second hen.
Sprinkle the holy water, yeah. I remember Sean's granny now, we used to have pigs down from Enniscorthy, and the poor thing, when I saw would have her young ones, she'd come out and she'd be spreading the holy water. And I was young at the time, and I'd have a red lamp, and I'd be trying to be respectful to granny, but I was always worried that she put the holy water on the lamp and have it come out. that was But everything, there was a great belief in holy water. Great belief in it altogether. John always said, like, even still, he'd say, wherever you spread holy water, you won't have rats. Now, I don't know, but that's what he always believes, because, so it was a great lot of old beliefs that's long since gone.